Hi, this is Kathi Quinn with Floriani. Floriani is a division of R&K Distributing, and I want to welcome you to this week's Project of the Week. Now, this week we're going to talk about exporting files so we can use our cutters, our Brother Scan and Cut, our silhouettes, our cameos. They're so popular and they make our cutting for our appliques and stuff so easy and precise. So I'm going to show you how to do that in the software, mainly because I've had some questions on it this week. So I always know if I've got questions, then lots of people have questions on it. So let's look at it. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to get a piece of artwork. This is vector art. I'm going to bring in this teddy bear. Now I'm going to show you a couple things to explain. Now this is vector artwork. It has not been turned into stitches yet. So I'm going to say File, Save As, and I'm going to save this as a Pez design. Now when I go to save, it tells me this has no stitches. You can't save an empty design. I cannot save this as a stitch file because it has no stitches. Now I could save it, File, Save As. I can save it as a WAF file. So I'm going to say Save, and it will save because a WAF file is merely information. It's not a stitch file, but it is information that is specific to the Floriani programs, and it has nothing to do with a cutter. But it would allow you to save an image, any kind of artwork image. It would allow you to save it as a WAF file so you could bring it back in to work with it. Now we're going to take this right here, this vector art. We're going to come along our one-click wonders down here at the bottom. We're going to go to our green bush and left mouse click and turn this into an applique. Now, one of the biggest reasons we have cutters is because it's so nice to have them cut out our applique shapes, especially if they've got lots of turns and twists, or they're small and have little pieces. It's nice to have a precision cutter do the work for us. Or maybe your hands just aren't as steady as they used to be. It's really great to let the cutter do the work. So I'm going to come over here in your sequence view, and I'm going to go ahead and close the properties box right now. Now we had a lesson on this a couple weeks ago where this is the upper right hand corner X. I'm going to close it completely because I want my sequence view to have that whole panel so you can see good. Now remember, if I want my properties box back, I simply go to my properties icon and it comes right back. Okay, now with this I'm going to click on the plus sign, and it tells us, Kathy, you have created this as an applique. Now it's going to look like this if this was created in Floriani software. If we did it, it's going to show us it's an applique. And if I click on the plus by the applique, it's also going to show me that I have a tack down. I was thrown off because this is usually a color you can see. Why it hit is being, there, I made it firefly so we could see it. Okay, this is our placement line. This would be our tack down, and this would be our finish. Let me zoom in so you can see those. Okay, so the storm right here, that is my placement line. Now the pink right here, if I go to pink, that is my tack down, and the green is my finish. Now notice I can click on these, but it doesn't ever highlight unless I select the whole thing, because the software sees this as one entity. The reason we've broken down the colors in here is so that your machine will stop in between. So if you have a flatbed machine, it's going to stop after each color so you can change the thread or have a stop so you can lay your fabric down. Now of course, if you're on a multi-needle, a 10 needle, a 6 needle, you're going to have to program in your stops. Now what I want to do is I want to isolate this placement line. So in order to break this apart, I'm simply going to right mouse click on the applique and say break up applique. Now it's actually three separate objects. You can see now I can select those individually. So let's go ahead and zoom out and fit this to screen. I am going to close down the satin stitch. I'm going to close down my tack down, and I am now left with my placement line. Now I am going to copy this. I'm going to open a new piece of paper, and I am going to paste this. Now, if I were going to print this out on Applique Wonder and cut it myself, at this point I would mirror image this teddy bear. But we are not. We're going to let a cutter cut it out, and it's going to cut it out just like I see it. So I'm still going to iron Applique Wonder on the back of your fabric, and we make Applique Wonder an 8.5 by 11 sheet, so it'll run right through your cutters. And then I'm going to cut out this shape. Now we know that this is a design. It's a run stitch. So if I went to File, Save As, the only thing I'm going to have are these design files, and that's not what I want. I need that cutting file. So we are going to say File, Export Artwork. Now I'm going to save this as an SVG for right now, and I'm going to put teddy bear. And I'm going to save. It already exists. Yeah, go ahead and replace it. Now, if I want to open that, let's close this. Let me get a new piece of paper so when I open it in, if I open this and we go to, oops, see, you can't go to open like you're going to open a design. You have to say File, Import Artwork. Now, there is that teddy bear, open. So there it is. We can see over here, still artwork, but it went, we could save it to the cutter. Now I could also say File, nope, File, Export Artwork, and I could come here and say this is an Adobe Illustrator file or an FCM. I have a Brother Scan and Cut, so I'm going to save it to an FCM, and I'm probably going to save it to a jump drive, so I can just stick it in my cutter. Of course, now it also, the newer one, has wireless capabilities. But I'm going to save this as Teddy Bear. I'll just save it as Teddy. And I'm going to save this to my desktop, and yes, replace the one I've got. Now notice when I go to File, Import Artwork, you are not going to be able to see that file. So I just don't want you to get frustrated if you've saved one. You can't pull it back in here. It's only to go to your cutter. So if I minimize this, you will notice there it is, Teddy FCM. SVG files are a little different. They're universal, whereas an FCM file is a proprietary file for the Brother Scan and Cut. So we can save to it and save for it, but you can't bring it back in. So I just didn't want you to be frustrated where you'd put it on your desktop and you were looking for it through the software. Okay, so now we've understood it's import artwork, export artwork. Now this could be used, of course, with any design. Anybody's, excuse me, let me close this. Anybody's designs. Let's get a new piece of paper. Let's go to our library. Here's some Anita Good baby dinosaurs. Let's look at those. Now let's pull in this baby dinosaur. Take him in the middle because he may be a baby dinosaur, but he's a really big one. There we go. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and select, and I'm going to select all of you, all items. I'm rotating just so he's going the right way. So there's our dinosaur. Now I need just this placement line right here, and I'm going to turn it dark so you'll be able to see it well. And we are just going to come in here and close these down. Close everything that is not that placement line. You can close them all down by left mouse clicking on the eyeball. That is going to close this down. We're doing the same thing as we did with the teddy bear. We've just got a lot more items. There we go. Now here is my cutting piece. This is my placement line. So again, I'm going to select it, right mouse click copy, take it to a new piece of paper, right mouse click and paste, file, export to, artwork, save it for your cutter. Well, I hope you enjoyed this week's lesson and I hope you learned a lot about cutting. I look forward to seeing you again next week. Have a good one. Bye-bye.